So today I'm making a screencast following my tutorial about using PanGestures and basically just learning about what type of items PanGestures work for and don't really work. So looking at the tutorial, the first step is to create a new project, which we already have, called PanGestures. I have the background and labels set up just to make it less confusing. So first we're going to go to the object library here and search for an image view, which we then drag onto the view controller. Now looking at the assets folder, I have the image of a soccer ball, which I saved as a JPEG file, .jpg. This allows for the background to be transparent so that when I go to the storyboard and I replace the image view with a soccer ball, I don't have a white background that I downloaded. It's transparent and blends in with the app. So the next step is to go to the object library and look for a pan gesture and drag this onto the image view. Next, looking at the we want the dual view screen here so that we can see our code next to the main storyboard. We're going to click the pan gesture and looking at the keyboard, control click, connect it. We want it under the view did load because we are making this an action, and it says to call it the soccer ball image. We want the type UI pan gesture. Now delegating the action is just going to the pan gesture again, control click, and delegate. Next, looking at the tutorial, we're going to go to the object library and look for a label and drag that onto the view controller. Just making it the size and color that we want. Size, and looking at the tutorial, we're going to name it the letter B here. Now we're going to go to the object library and once again search for a pan gesture and place it onto the letter B. And once again, we're just going to control click onto our code under view did load, make it an action. Looking at the tutorial, it says we're going to call it letter B moved. Type UI pan gesture recognizer. Delegate the action. Control click. Delegate. Now we're just going to run the app. When we run the app, we're going to see that. Oh well, I'll just wait for it to run. Alright. Waiting for the app to run. Okay, so look, when the app runs, we see that we're unable to move the label or the image view. So this is because you can't put a pan gesture on an image view or a label. So in order to solve this, we're going to go to the object library and search for a UI view. Resize it. Now we're going to go under view controller, but before view did load, because we're making it an outlet, we're going to control click and call it letter W view. And now we're going inside of this, we're going to again search for a label, making sure it's embedded in the UI view. And in order to double check that it's embedded in the UI view, look here under the arrow we have the label. So now we're just going to make it the letter that we want, which is a W. Just make it a little bit bigger. And we're going to make the background of the UI view transparent and smaller so that it works. Default. Now we go to the object library and look for a hand gesture. And drag this onto the, make sure the letter W view is highlighted. Because if we were to put the pan gesture just on the label, nothing would happen as we saw earlier. So once again, we're going to control click onto the code, and we're going to call this letter W moved, making an action and a UI pan gesture recognizer. Now, since we have a label inside a UI view, we need to give it some direction so that the code knows what to do. So we're going to write let point equals center.location in view, telling it where the UI view's location is in the sense of the whole view controller. And then letter W view, which is what we named this view, equals dot center equals point. We want the center of this of the center of the UI view to be the location of the pan gesture, and where we want them to stay. We want the pan gesture to stay inside of the UI view. And just quickly before we run the app, control click, making sure it's on the letter W view, delegate the action, and now we can run the app. Now, as we can see, we can move around what appears to be a label but is actually a UI view. Now we can do this with an image view as well, but just for the sake of the tutorial we showed it with the label. So this was my screencast on how a pan gesture does not work on a image view or a label, but with a label or an image view inside a UI view.